You know what troubles me the most when caring for patients over 65? It's not the lab numbers. It's not the long list of medications. It's the small things, the tiny daily habits you barely notice. The ones that quietly shape your health, especially when it comes to stroke risk. Each morning you pour yourself a cup of coffee. Each afternoon you skip the walk because it's a little chilly. Each meal you add just a pinch of salt, a splash of juice, a slice of sausage. And you think it's fine, I feel okay. But my friend, it's fine moments that are slowly hurting your blood vessels, thickening your blood, raising your pressure, and tiring your heart day by day. And the part that breaks my heart, stroke doesn't give you a warning. It can happen while you're asleep, while you're washing the dishes, even while you're enjoying your favorite TV show. I had a patient once, John, 68. Strong guy, funny, never complained about his health. Until one afternoon he called me. I just fell while mowing the lawn, and my left arm won't move. Diagnosis, minor stroke. No warning, no pain, just one unguarded moment. Thankfully, he got help in time. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this because stroke can be prevented. And not just prevented, effectively prevented. In fact, the American Heart Association says that up to 80% of strokes are preventable just by making small daily choices. Right there in your own home. No fancy machines, no complicated diets, just small steps, done consistently. And the first place I want you to start is not with pills, but with breakfast, because breakfast is your first conversation with your blood vessels each day. Are you feeding them sugar, or are you feeding them healing? Are you waking up inflammation, or calming it? Just picture this, a bowl of warm oats, topped with chia seeds, banana slices, fresh blueberries, a spoonful of cool Greek yogurt, a few crunchy walnuts. That's not just a meal, that's a natural medicine, rich in fiber, antioxidants, omega-3s. All of it helping reduce inflammation, stabilize your blood pressure, and support brain circulation. Have you ever noticed how tired or cranky you feel after a sugary, salty breakfast? That's not age. That's your blood sugar spiking and crashing, putting your vessels through a roller coaster ride. And that roller coaster slowly causes damage, silently. I've seen patients swap out their pastries and orange juice for oatmeal and fruit. And within weeks, they tell me, "Doc, I don't feel dizzy in the mornings anymore. I'm sleeping better. My legs feel less tired when I walk." And I smile and I say, that's because you're finally speaking kindly to your blood vessels. So here's what I want you to remember. Stroke prevention doesn't begin in the hospital. It begins at your breakfast table. It begins with your first glass of water, with a short morning walk, instead of another 10 minutes on the couch. You don't need to change everything at once. Just one little habit a day. And if you're thinking, but I'm already in my 70s, maybe it's too late. Let me tell you, it is never too late to walk back toward your health. So tomorrow, when you pour your coffee, pour a glass of water too. When you reach for sugary cereal, think of warm oats instead. And when you step into your yard, take a few more steps. For you, because I believe we all have the power to do better for our bodies. Not for anyone else, but for the quiet miracle happening inside us, in every heartbeat, in every vessel, in every breath. You see, we just talked about breakfast, about how alertness starts with small choices, a spoonful of oats, a sprinkle of chia seeds, a few blueberries quietly doing their work. But now I want you to think about something even simpler, something you don't need to cook, or chew, or even buy. Water. Yes, just water. Have you ever felt lightheaded when standing up, or had your legs feel heavy for no clear reason? Many people blame it on age, but often it's simply dehydration. And dehydration, though it sounds harmless, is one of the quiet accomplices of stroke. I still remember one summer afternoon. A 74-year-old woman came into my clinic, dizzy fast heart rate, and had fallen in the bathroom. Her blood pressure was off, but all her tests looked okay. Then I asked, "Have you had anything to drink today?" She said, "Not really. Just a couple of salty crackers this morning. No water, just salt." That alone was enough to thicken her blood, increase vascular pressure. And just one more trigger and a stroke could have struck. You see, when you're dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker, slower, and more likely to form clots. And clots are what cause ischemic stroke, the most common type, over 80% of strokes in the US. And here's the scary part. After age 60, your sense of thirst becomes less accurate. That's why I always tell my patients, don't wait until you're thirsty. Make water a ritual, a little act of self-love. Each morning, keep a water bottle next to your coffee maker. Drink a glass right after waking before breakfast. Before every meal, drink half a glass. It helps digestion and keeps blood pressure stable. And especially in the afternoon when it's warm or when you feel tired, skip the soda, skip the bottled juice. Just go for clean water or gentle herbal tea. Personally, I love adding a slice of lemon or a few mint leaves. Just that little touch and I feel refreshed, more awake, more present. And your body, it feels the same. Just a little care, and it thanks you. You know, I used to think stroke prevention was about medication, hospitals, high-tech machines. But after 30-plus years in medicine, I've realized stroke doesn't happen because of one big event. It happens when we forget to care for ourselves a little each day. When we forget to drink water, when we skip breakfast, when we no longer step outside after a meal. You still have time, and you deserve more years of strength, freedom, and peace. So tomorrow, when you drink water, drink it like you're saying thank you to your heart. Because every sip is one small step away from stroke. Have you ever forgotten to drink enough water? Is your water bottle always out of reach? Share that with me in the comments below, and if you have your own trick to remind yourself to stay hydrated, I'd love to learn from you. Together, we'll walk stronger, one small step at a time. Have you ever noticed what we tend to do after lunch or dinner? We sit, turn on the TV, scroll through our phones, or worse. We lie back on the couch for just a quick rest. I get it. After 60, every full meal feels like a quiet weight, a sweet heaviness. You just want to relax. Your legs aren't exactly begging to move. But here's what I want you to know. Those lazy minutes right after your meal, they're actually golden opportunities to protect your heart and blood vessels. I want you to try something simple. After every meal, don't sit down immediately. Instead, take a short walk, just 10 minutes. You don't need to exercise. You don't need to go to the gym or the park. Just walk gently around your yard, your hallway, your kitchen, or even just back and forth by the table. You could clear the dishes while stepping slowly. Call a loved one while pacing around the room. Or simply step outside, breathe, and look at the trees. Why is this important? Because after a meal, especially meals with carbs like rice bread or sweet fruit, your blood sugar spikes. In younger people, the body handles that fast. But after 60, your response slows down and that sugar lingers. It causes inflammation and it quietly damages your blood vessels. A study in Diabetologia showed just 10 minutes of light walking after a meal can reduce post-meal blood sugar by up to 22%. 22% with just a few steps. No pills, no cost. I had a patient, Linda, 71. She told me, "Doc, I walk every morning. Why is my blood pressure still high?" I asked, "When do you walk?" She said 7 a.m. before breakfast. I smiled and said, "That's great. Now try walking again after lunch and dinner." A month later, she came back. Her blood pressure had dropped. Her glucose levels were stable. She was sleeping better, and she smiled and said, "I call it my daily date with myself, 3 times a day. No hills, no treadmill. Just one thing, don't sit down right after you eat. Because when you sit, blood pools. When you move, blood flows. And when blood flows, your heart works easier. Your vessels stay clean. Your brain stays sharp." Now you might be thinking, "I don't have diabetes. Why should I care about blood sugar? But here's the truth. Spikes in blood sugar, even without diabetes, cause silent inflammation. That inflammation damages the lining of your arteries, raises your pressure, and increases the risk of clots or ruptures. And sometimes, that ends in a stroke quietly in the middle of the night. You don't need to change your entire life. Just stand up after each meal, take a few steps, listen to your body. And if someone's nearby, invite them to walk with you. It's not just walking, it's sharing life. Think about it. How many meals have you had in your lifetime? Thousands, tens of thousands. So what if, from now on, every meal isn't just about eating, but about living longer, staying clearer, walking stronger? It doesn't start with a prescription. It starts with your legs and one small decision. Stand up, take a few steps. Do you walk after meals? If not, what's been the hardest part? Share with me in the comments. Let's figure out something gentle, simple, and right for your pace of life. Because you deserve to feel good. Not just full, but fully alive. You know something. According to the American Heart Association, older adults should limit sodium to under 1/500 milligram per day. That's less than 2/3 of a teaspoon of salt. But in reality, most of us consume twice that amount, sometimes even more. And here's what surprises most people. 70% of the salt we eat each day doesn't come from the salt shaker. It comes from packaged and processed foods. Instant noodles, canned soups, sandwich bread, bacon sausages, even healthy salad dressings. Some pack hundreds of milligrams of sodium per tablespoon. So when a patient tells me, "Doc, I don't eat that salty," I usually ask, "What did you have for breakfast? Sausages lunch sandwich with sauces, dinner, something from the freezer aisle." They nod, then pause. And I don't blame them. We were never taught to spot hidden salt. We only recognize salt when we taste it, not when we read it on a label. But here's the beautiful part. You don't have to sacrifice flavor to protect your heart. In fact, when I first started reducing salt, I discovered something. Food can be delicious in a completely new way. Garlic roasted until golden becomes sweet aromatic and even supports healthy blood pressure. Herbs like rosemary, thyme, oregano, not just fragrant, but loaded with anti-inflammatory compounds. Lemon juice and apple cider vinegar, that light tang wakes up the tongue and makes everything taste brighter. Extra virgin olive oil, not just a healthy fat, but a master flavor carrier for roasting, sautéing, and dressing. I once made roasted potatoes, no salt at all. Just olive oil, minced garlic, fresh rosemary, and a touch of turmeric. A friend tasted them and said, "It's not salty, but somehow it speaks to me. The flavor feels alive." And I thought, that's when food doesn't just touch the tongue, it touches the heart. If cutting back on salt feels hard, start small. Use half as much as you normally would. Give it a few weeks, your taste buds will recalibrate. And what once tasted bland may soon feel perfectly seasoned. You've spent a lifetime seasoning food for others. Now, it's time to season for yourself. Add a little gentleness, a little listening, a small change to protect the heart that's kept beating for your loved ones all these years. Have you tried replacing salt with natural herbs or spices before? What's been your biggest challenge with cutting back on sodium? Share it with me below. And if you have a go-to delicious but low-salt recipe, drop it in the comments. Let's inspire each other, one flavorful, heart-loving bite at a time. Have you ever had one of those nights? Tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep no matter how hard you try. Or maybe you woke up at 3 a.m., wide awake and couldn't fall back asleep until the sky turned light. You're not alone. After 60, many of us slowly lose our relationship with deep, restful sleep. Sleep becomes lighter, shorter, easier to disturb. And that's not just tiring, it's dangerous. You see, when sleep is broken or delayed, your blood vessels stay tense. Blood pressure stays elevated throughout the night. And stroke risk increases even while you're sleeping. Did you know 1 in 4 strokes happens while someone is asleep or right after waking up. I once cared for a patient, Esther, 76 years old. She lived alone, was healthy, and very independent. But she loved watching late-night movies. One morning, the neighbors noticed her newspaper was still on the porch. When they checked on her, she had collapsed in her bedroom. Her smile was uneven, her speech slurred. It was a nighttime stroke, and sadly no one realized until it was too late. Sleep isn't just shutting down. It's when your body repairs, when your blood pressure resets, when your heart finally rests. But if your sleep is irregular, too short, too late, or broken up by light and noise, your body doesn't recover. It keeps fighting even in the dark. A study in neurology found that inconsistent sleep schedules raise stroke risk by 22%, even if total sleep hours are enough. So I'll ask you, what time did you go to bed last night and the night before? If that answer keeps changing, your internal rhythms are struggling to keep up. And here's something most people forget. Caffeine. Coffee, tea, energy, drinks, even dark chocolate all contain caffeine. After 60, your liver processes caffeine much more slowly. That 3 p.m. coffee, it might still be in your bloodstream at 10 p.m. I once asked a patient, "Do you drink coffee at night?" He said no, just after lunch. Turns out, his after lunch was 2:30 p.m., and every morning he woke up groggy with high blood pressure. So if you truly want your brain and heart to rest at night, here's my advice. Avoid caffeine after 2 p.m. Turn off all screens at least 1 hour before bed. Dim the lights, read something gentle, or listen to calming music. And most important, go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. It may sound small, but it's one of the strongest foundations for healthy blood vessels and steady blood pressure. Sleep is a gift, one that money can't buy, but one that's so easy to lose. Because of a late-night episode or an innocent cup of coffee. And just like your heart, your sleep deserves respect. When you respect sleep, sleep protects you. Tomorrow morning, I hope you wake up gently. No dizziness, no tension, no dread. And tonight, if you choose to sleep just a little earlier, skip that afternoon coffee and disconnect from screens. You'll be giving your heart and your brain a powerful gift. Have you ever really listened to your own heartbeat? I don't mean metaphorically. I mean truly listened. Is it steady, gentle, or maybe skipping a beat? Because sometimes a stroke doesn't start with pain. It starts with a heartbeat that's just a little off. There's something I wish every person over 65 knew. An irregular heartbeat, even without symptoms, can raise your risk of stroke 5-fold. And here's the scary part. Most people with an irregular rhythm have no idea it's there. The condition is called atrial fibrillation, or AFib for short. It's when the upper chambers of your heart stop beating in sync, they just flutter. Blood doesn't flow properly, and that creates the perfect storm for a blood clot to form. If that clot travels to your brain, that's a stroke, waiting to happen. I remember a patient of mine, Robert, 80 years old. Strong man, didn't smoke, ate well, walked every morning. But one afternoon, he collapsed while talking with his son. Diagnosis: stroke caused by undiagnosed AFib. No symptoms before, no palpitations, no fatigue. Just a heart quietly sending signals that no one caught in time. So how do you catch AFib before it catches you? The answer might be in your own hands, quite literally. Just 1 minute a day. That's all it takes. Here's how to check your pulse at home. Sit down. Relax your breathing. Place your index and middle finger on your opposite wrist just below the thumb. Press gently until you feel the beat. Count the beats for 15 seconds. Multiply by 4 to get beats per minute. But more important than the number is the rhythm. A healthy rhythm feels like thump, 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 thump. AFib often sounds like thump, thump. Pause. Thump, 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 thump. If it's irregular jumping or feels like it's skipping, beats don't panic. But don't ignore it either. Call your doctor. Ask for an ECG test and electrocardiogram. It takes just minutes, but it could prevent a life-altering stroke. Besides irregular rhythm, look out for these warning signs. Sudden racing heartbeats, dizziness or fatigue. Even from light walking, shortness of breath without exertion, feeling anxious or sensing something isn't right. Your body always finds a way to speak. But in today's noisy world, we forget to listen. And sometimes, your finger resting on your own wrist is the best diagnostic tool you have. So today, I ask you to take just 1 minute. Check your pulse. Not because you're afraid, but because you deserve to feel strong, in control, and safe. If you've never done it before, try tonight. If you notice something off, seek help. And if it's steady and strong, check again next week. Keep it regular. Have you ever checked your pulse at home? Did you find it tricky? Leave a comment and I'll walk you through it if you need help. Because awareness is power. And sometimes, stroke prevention starts with nothing more than 2 fingers, 1 quiet moment, and the courage to care. You know, most people don't eat unhealthy because they want to. They do it because they're too hungry, too tired, or just too overwhelmed to make a better choice. And I've seen it happen more times than I can count. One Monday afternoon, I visited Carol, one of my longtime patients. She's in her 70s, living alone after her husband passed. I opened her fridge. There was a bottle of water, a few slices of white bread, and an old salad container from last week. I asked, "What are you planning to eat today?" She smiled and said, "Maybe I'll make some instant noodles." It's quick, and I understood. It's not that she didn't know it was too salty. She just didn't have a better option in front of her. Because when you're hungry, tired, or feeling down, your brain doesn't choose the best meal. It chooses the fastest one. And sadly fast often means saltier, sweeter, and more processed. That's why I always tell my patients, stroke prevention starts before you get hungry. You don't need to be a chef. You don't need to prep 20 meals every Sunday. You just need 3 or 4 go-to foods ready in your fridge so when hunger hits, you stay in control. Let me give you some simple examples. Overnight oats takes 5 minutes. On 2-cup rolled oats. 1 tablespoon chia seeds. 1 2-cup unsweetened almond milk. A few slices of banana or berries. Let it sit overnight. In the morning, open and enjoy. Fruit and nut snack cup. Chopped apple, pear, grapes. A small handful of walnuts or almonds. Sprinkle with a little cinnamon. Store in a small jar. Grab it when the cravings hit. Boiled eggs. Plus cherry tomatoes. Plus avocado. Slices, satisfying, full of healthy fats. No sugar crash. Now you might be thinking, "But Doc, I live alone. I don't feel like cooking anymore." I hear you. I'm not asking you to cook. I'm just gently suggesting. Spend 30 minutes this weekend, not for anyone else, but for yourself. Just like you once packed lunches for your kids or made soup for your spouse. Now it's time to take care of you. Here's a little tip. Place those healthy snacks right at eye level in your fridge. Because what you see first is often what you reach for first. You know, the healthiest seniors I know, they're not just taking pills. They're prepared. Not for next year, just for tomorrow's lunch. For that random 3 p.m. hunger. For those tired moments when decision-making feels too hard. And it's that kind of quiet preparation that protects your blood vessels, your heart rhythm, and your clarity day by day. So if you have a little time today, make one thing for tomorrow. No pressure, no recipes needed. Just a little act of care for yourself. Because sometimes stroke prevention doesn't come from the hospital. It comes from the top shelf of your own refrigerator. Have you ever tried meal prepping just a little for yourself? What's the hardest part? Or your favorite go-to snack? Share it in the comments. Your idea might help someone else feel just a little more prepared. Have you ever felt that your home is just too quiet. No footsteps, no voices checking in. Just the ticking of a clock, the rustle of wind outside, and sometimes an empty ache that lingers in the heart. I used to think stroke prevention was all about blood pressure, arteries, and heartbeats. But after decades of caring for older adults, I've come to see something deeper. A lonely heart can be just as fragile as a hypertensive one. Recent studies show that social isolation after 65 can increase your risk of stroke by up to 32%. Even more concerning, if a stroke does occur, those who live alone often recover more slowly, face more complications, and may not get help in time. Why? Because loneliness doesn't just hurt emotionally. It leaves a physical scar on the body. I'll never forget Eleanor, 72 years old. After her husband passed, she lived alone in the same old house. She stopped going to her yoga class. She spent her days listening to the radio. Until one day, she suffered a minor stroke. No one knew. No one called for help. It wasn't until her neighbor checked on her 2 days later that she was taken to the hospital. Thankfully, there was no permanent damage. But you know what she said hurt most? Not the weakness, not the hospital bed, but the feeling that no one knew she needed help. After that, Eleanor made a change. She joined a senior walking group at the park. At first, it was just a few steps. Then she met Mary, same age, also a mini-stroke survivor. They became walking partners. They texted each other reminders to take medications, went grocery shopping together, and step by step came back to life. Because health isn't just about what you eat. It's not just your heart rhythm or your sleep. It's connection. It's shared laughter. It's a hand on your shoulder. It's someone asking, "Hey, how are you today?" So if you've been feeling alone or your world's gotten quieter, please try one small thing. Join a walking group nearby, even once or twice a week. Find a gentle yoga tai chi or senior dance class. It's not just for your muscles, but for your spirit. Volunteer at your local church library or senior center. Or just pick up the phone. Call an old friend. Send a card. Text good night. Because stroke doesn't just strike when we forget to take medicine. It strikes when we've spent too long in silence, too long disconnected from the world and from ourselves. I once asked a patient, "What's the one thing that helps you feel healthier each day?" She smiled and said, "Not the food, not the pills. It's knowing there's someone waiting for me at the park every morning." Have you felt that kind of loneliness? Or have you found your way back to connection? Share your story in the comments. You never know, your words might light someone else's path. My friend, we've just walked through 12 habits, simple ones really. A glass of water in the morning, a slow walk after lunch, a spoon of oats, a deep breath, a phone call to an old friend. And yet if you truly understand their value, then you understand this. Staying healthy after 65 is not a fight, it's a choice. I didn't come here today to scare you with talk of strokes. I came to tell you this. You still have power. You can make choices starting today to keep your freedom in every step you take, every word you speak, and every peaceful night's sleep. You don't have to do all 12 things. Just pick one. Start small. Maybe tonight you go to bed a little earlier. Maybe you place a glass of water beside your bed. Or maybe you place your fingers on your wrist and take one quiet minute to feel your heartbeat. I once told a patient of mine, a kind soul in his 70s, just recovering from a mild stroke, "We can't rewind time, but we can change direction, starting today." And I want to say the same to you, 65, 70, even 80. These aren't the end of the road. They're a new chapter, a chapter where you don't need to run fast or try harder than you did when you were young. You just need to listen more gently to yourself and care for your body, like an old friend who's carried you through decades of life. Because that's exactly what it is. If this video spoke to you, share it with a neighbor, a sibling, a friend. Because maybe they too need this gentle reminder that they are not weak, They're just waiting for a little encouragement and a little guidance at the right time. And now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of the 12 habits are you already doing well? And which one will you begin today? Let me know in the comments. I read every one, truly. Because you're not just a viewer, you're part of a community. A community of people living with intention. Living not just longer, but better. With clarity, with dignity, with peace. So remember, stroke prevention doesn't begin in a doctor's office. It begins right in your own home, in your breakfast, in your footsteps, in a quiet moment before sleep. In every little moment you choose to listen to yourself. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin.